This was a good point about your first language. You don't just do the language. You're also joining the community of kindred spirits, possibly. It wasn't as much the case like when I first started programming, or the community wasn't as integrated. The internet makes it so easy, I guess is my point. You're definitely picking a community. Like the Python community has a feel, the Ruby community has a feel, .NET community has its own feel. Tying that community, and the whole point is you want to communicate with your new language, but you don't want to just know the basic grammar. You want to communicate idiomatically, and the only way you pick up idioms is by hanging out in the culture and speaking the way they speak, or getting Rosetta Stone or whatever. This was a really good point about first language, though. It's like the grid lines from how you see the world almost from then on. Like your first language kind of binds your thinking almost, at least it does for me, of how you see all other new languages. Like I was so held back by Visual Basic, when I first, even as I moved from there to like C#, or I have most of the Ruby idioms now, but every once in a while it still pollutes my thinking. But I don't know, where did everyone start? Like I started in Basic and then went to assembly language, and from assembly language to C, to C++, to Java, back to ASP, to VB, to C#, to Ruby. Where'd you start?
Visual Basic, and then C and C++, and then off mainly PHP from there, and then Ruby.
Basic, assembly, Perl, Ruby. There were definitely lots of sidetracks, but those were probably the four biggest factors which shaped me.
Yeah, I started off just hacking together HTML, flat pages, but then started tinkering with PHP, and then some C#, ASP.NET, and then SharePoint. Gosh. I hate even saying that.
That's a language?
I hate even saying, well, it's like you end up throwing whatever, it'll digest a lot of crap. But yeah.
Isn't crap the end result of digestion?
Yes, you crap in, you get crap out.
Scott?
Probably too many to mention, but the first one was Fortran 77.
There was a quote about Fortran, like all problems are, it said, if you've only ever written code in early versions of Fortran 77 before, then you probably don't even know recursion exists.
It didn't in 78. But
there was another one about Fortran. Keep going, I'll find it.
Oh, well, a lot of assembler, a lot of C, a lot of Pascal, and finally Ruby, PHP in there too somewhere. But
Pascal.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, it's actually pretty good. Object Pascal with Delphi is not bad. You can really do some good patterns and stuff in there, and write some real code. Cool. Readable code too.
The other Fortran quote was, avoid the old problem of writing Fortran in any language. And I was guilty of writing VB in any language, for sure. Jim, you're up.
Yeah, probably, like Adam said, straight HTML, but then ASP, I got a job, and then they told me after the fact that I needed to know ASP, so Sam's ASP in 24 hours.
Nice.
And, but then ASP to VB6 to C# to Ruby.
I think Perl was my first real language, because I started out as a sysadmin, and then I moved on to PHP and some .NET in there somewhere. Python.
Yeah.
Ruby recently.
That's the first Python we've heard.
Sphere script was the first thing. I don't know. I was working with this Ultima Online emulator server, and they had a scripting language, and the server is called Sphere. And so this was one of those cases where, like, I had to spend a lot of time on the forum to learn the language to figure out what it could do. There were no loops. Everything, you had to write a recursive function for everything. It was kind of crazy. After that, it was Python, and then PHP, and C, Java, and Ruby. Yes.
I left out scripting the game Megazooks.
We've all had a good smattering of languages, but does anyone miss anything from any one of those languages, or do you find yourself coding in a language you used to know in Ruby still? Or?
Doc tests from Python.
Oh, yeah.
Inline. Sort of like you can see the API basically like in line with the functions. which is
Yeah,
nice.
I always thought Dotcast was pretty damn cool for the little bit of Python that I did.
Mark McCarron, one of our former coworkers, just pinged me yesterday trying to figure out how to do named matches in regular expressions. It's not supported. He's a Pythonista. And,
It's in Ruby 1.9.
oh, okay, cool. I will let him know.
I think Node is pretty neat. I kind of want to start experimenting more with JavaScript, like real JavaScript programming, because of Node.
JavaScript's the future, man. That's what I keep reading, and the past.
And I want to play with some other languages like D or OCC, or OOC, I guess. But I don't know. I have a hard time because Ruby's just so beautiful. I can't move on.